Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Well, welcome aboard the Tabletop Express. This is a first, by the way, on this channel. We are doing our favorites list for our favorite games, but we're doing a little bit different. I wanted to kick this off, Ryan, because we are talking about you, Ryan Espin. Before we do that, we have a guest tonight. And so maybe you could do an introduction.
Sure, yeah. So we have a special guest on tonight, someone I've known for quite a long time, possibly longer than Barros, and that is Ryan of BGSmack. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Great. Thank you for having me. Appreciate being here.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about BGSmack and that awesome community?
Way back in 2017, we started a little bit of a deals group as the BGSmack board game deals group. And we've been going since then, but we've grown into other areas, including like content creation. As we were talking earlier, we have a Discord channel, did streaming, and just hands in different areas and everything. But
I tried to talk a lot on your Discord. And it's mostly because you have like this level thing. I just want to get like a higher level.
You're super helpful. And I would not be into certain games had you not been there. Right?
That's true. Some of them are going to be on this list. And that goes for you too, Barros. I introduced you to some of the games on this list too.
Yeah, it'll be interesting where crossover comes. So let me explain something just for everybody. We're doing these lists, but we are doing everyone's lists individually. And it's a great chance for you to get to know some of us here on the channel. Ryan, one of the co-conductors of this channel with myself. And it's a great chance for you to get to know Ryan, some of the things he's into. I did put a poll out on Twitter at the channel because I did ask what the over-under essentially is on how many trains are going to show up tonight. And
I like a lot of train games.
Yeah. To clarify, what I meant by that was a train showing up in the game. It does not necessarily mean it has to be train specific. As long as there's a train in the game, I'm going to count that. So there's a poll out. I put that out. You can follow us on Twitter at the TT Express. And so go over there, check us out, and take that poll. So, but I'm excited to see what's on your list. I don't want to take away from that.
Yeah.
Let me ask you one question.
Yes.
When you put this list together, can you talk just very briefly about your process of building a top 20 list? Because I think you've got a very scientific one.
It's not really. I just so I follow Board Game Geek's rating system, which is how much do you like a game, basically. And then within there, I'm actually ranking constantly because I try to figure out what board games to hold on to and which ones I should kick off and sell or give away.
You do all your digital games too, right? Like
and I count
online plays and everything.
Yeah, I count all BGAs. One of these games I've actually never played in person at all. Like I never even opened the components. I still have everything sealed in my copy. But it's still on this list and it's important. But yeah, so I'm gonna just jump right in, I guess, to number 20. And I forgot what number 20 is, so I'm just gonna click this and find out what it is, and then I'll talk about it. Oh, hey.
BSD, okay.
Yeah, my number 20 is Battlestar Galactica, the board game, which is a board game that I've had for quite a long time in my collection. It's woefully out of print. It's now been reprinted with a Cthulhu theme. But in Battlestar Galactica, it is basically the show in a board game setting. You are playing as members of the Battlestar Galactica, and you're trying to figure out who those fracking Cylons are. And sometimes what's great about it is you could be the fracking Cylon yourself and not know it until halfway through the game. It's a game I try to play at least once every year because it's a game you need exactly 5 people for. There's actually a bunch of games like that in my top 20. But this one you absolutely need 5 people for. And it's an amazing experience. I played it with you last year, Barros. That was our first time playing together.
Yeah. We do have a question actually I got to pose to you because Liz did ask how you feel about the Unfathomable reprint.
Oh, I haven't played it yet, but I have no desire to go purchase it at this time. I mean, I'm very much on board with the Battlestar Galactica theme. I have enough Cthulhu's in my board gaming collection already. I'm not against the Arkham stuff. I just, I love this theme. It works perfectly. It's a perfect translation. When someone asks the question as to what board game captures like an IP the best, this is that game in my opinion. It really feels like you're playing the show.
this game, when we played it, because I can speak to that experience, it was a good play. There was definitely some tension. I had some tension with Gaius the entire time. Me and Gaius were clashing, and we were both wrong. We ended up being okay, but I
was
I
silent on that one.
Yeah, I was joking that I nearly blew the game because I put the wrong person in the brig.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. It was a good time.
Yeah. But yeah, that's number 20, Battlestar Galactica.
So I haven't played this one, but I have played Homeland. I don't know if either of you ever touched that, but that is based on this game. It's very, very similar. You're trying to, weed out the spy or whatever. But yeah, those very cool. Very cool.
That's based on the TV show too, right?
Yeah, it's based on the TV show, but I'm pretty sure it's most of the elements from Battlestar Galactica, the board game.
Yeah,
just streamlined a bit.
I know. There's a game that's in like the Android Netrunner universe that's called New Angeles, which is a very similar vibe to Battlestar. I haven't played it, but everyone, I have one of my one gaming group, they adore it. So, anyways, that was Battlestar Galactica, my number 20. I'm gonna go right to 19, which is one better. Which, by the way, just because it's not on this list doesn't mean I don't like that game. And just because it's number 20 or 19 doesn't mean I don't love it a lot. So my number 19 is a cooperative board game that when it came out, it kind of flipped the Euro genre of colonization on its head. And that is Spirit Island. So in Spirit Island, it's a cooperative board game where you are working as different spirits on an island. And you'll be like controlling different elements based on what kind of spirit you are. And the goal of the game is to scare the invaders, which are represented by these white plastic miniatures. And you need to scare them off of your island to the point where they run away because they feel like the island is haunted before they cause enough blight to your island to destroy the island. It's fantastic. It is a really, really fun game. It's one that I was kind of indifferent on first, but I kept coming back to it because the theme is just so engrossing. You get to be, like you get to kick the colonists in the face. That's great,
No, I'm glad you brought it up because I've never played this one and I've looked into it a couple times, but the way you described it, I thought was much better than I've heard other people describe it. And it sounds really interesting.
Yeah. I remember the review, I think it was Dice Tower, they were kind of lukewarm on it. But I really enjoy this, and the more and more I play it, there's tons of variability, especially variability, I guess, with all the different players, different gods, because they all have different asymmetric powers as to how they play, and some are great at defense, some are great at offense, some are great at causing fear. There's one where you play as the ocean, and your whole thing is you bring the colonists out into the ocean and you engulf them and eat them up. And it's so fun.
Engulfing. Are you sure you're not talking about? Never mind. You're not talking about Cosmic Frog. No, never.
Oh no. Which I had to go there. That game. Yeah,
I had to go there.
But this game is great. Barros, you have it. You haven't played it, Barros. Right?
I have played the solo mode or attempted to play the solo mode once, and I felt like I was an idiot.
We're doing this one.
Right.
We're doing this one this year. It's on my 20x5.
Do you have the expansion?
I do.
Branch and Claw?
Okay. Yeah, I have Branch and Claw, and I have the newest one, Jagged Earth, I believe it's called. And that one basically just doubles the content. It's insane how much content there is. And not only that, it also scales very well. So the very first intro, there's actually different difficulty levels. You have an intro level, and they go all the way up to like as hard as you want. Okay. So you really have a lot of variability with, I keep using that word. You have a lot of options. Okay, you have a lot of options in that box. Yeah, I'm just making things up. That's what we do, English majors.
It's a thing.
Anyways.
I was just going to say, I am excited to try and play this game. It has not left my collection despite not really playing it because I just didn't feel it needed to go anywhere, even though I didn't play it, which normally they would be gone. If I don't play a game in like 2-3 years, it's normally like, all right, I don't need you. But in this case, this was an exception to the rule. So I think that goes to show how highly I think of it despite that.
I mean, the good news is you live like 10 minutes away from me.
I know.
I have everything for this game. If you part with it, do not worry. It is here, over there.
It may. It may.
So that was my number 19, Spirit Island. I'm going to go right into number 18. Now, I did mention about Battlestar Galactica and the Cthulhu theme. This number 18 is my favorite of the Cthulhu theme board games, and that is Arkham Horror, the card game. I adore this game as well. And that's, by the way, it's everything. Number 20 through 1 are games that I adore. And Arkham Horror, the card game, is absolutely that. Arkham Horror, the card game, is a cooperative game where you are different investigators going in, figuring out some mysteries and trying to uncover what exactly is going on in my town. And you're doing all sorts of different scenarios where you are going in, running into different encounters, and they're either psychological ones or physical ones that are going to just punch, monsters are going to punch you in the face, or they're going to like mess with your mind. I really love this game. Yeah, I'm glad it's your number 5 because holy moly, this game is amazing. And I could play this a lot because there's tons of different scenarios, but it's also a living card game. So if you're in,
there's a lot of expansions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm impressed because you're into, I don't know if another one will fall on your list, but you're into more than one living card game, which
I am. My wallet hates me.
A money dumps makes it sound awful, but like it really is.
It
like
is,
an
right?
investment.
Yeah.
So,
well, the thing is, I'm not fully caught up in Arkham Horror, the card game, because I used to play a lot with my coworker, and we used to do it after work. And we've been working remote since COVID happened, so a lot of Arkham Horror card game time has gone downhill. But I still have a bunch of good friends that do play Arkham Horror, the card game, a lot, so I could always play that. But even better, it's great solo. It is great solo. So that's my number 18, Arkham Horror, the card game. Or Liz, that's your number 5. Congratulations. It's such a good game. I
it is a very popular game. I mean, people love it, right? I mean,
yeah. I'm the whole Ghostbustery thing, right? So I want to go in and slam some monsters, and
And on the train count, for anyone keeping track.
Oh, there is a train in this.
Is there?
Yes. Yes, there is a train in this.
That's what I thought. I felt like there was a train in this one. So technically, this is
There
number
is.
1.
There is
on the train counter.
There is. Light spoiler. There is a train in one of these scenarios because you'll see. I guess it's great though how they handle it. Okay. My number 17 though is a very Euro of the Euros. It's a really fun one though, and it is a bag building game called Orleon. And Orleon is train counter 1. Thank you. Orleon is a fantastic game where in this game you are building your engine and you're using these little pogs. If you see over here on the bottom right, there's like red circles and a yellow circle. Those are these different pogs that you're putting down onto these spots to do these actions, and you're buying them from the market. More pogs over there, and those are the Board Game Geek store ones, the upgrade ones. You put them in your bag, you shuffle up your bag, you pull them out, like Quacks of Quedlinburg in that regard. But this has a lot more meat, in my opinion, to how it actually works, because you have a lot of engines going on. It's all about engine building, and it's also in a little bit of like an area an area majority game, I guess, game where you have that board where you're just putting down different houses throughout the map. And it has a lot of things that I like. It has a lot of mechanisms that I like. It has a fluctuating market. It's really great. But what's even better than Orleon is the Orleon Invasion expansion, which turns the game from a competitive game to a cooperative one. And I really enjoy the cooperative mode, the Orleon Invasion. It honestly, I feel like that should have been how the game should have been released, and then competitive. Don't get me wrong, competitive game is still great, but the cooperative one where you're trying to work together to build this board is really fun.
That is what I heard with everything, because I don't have the cooperative one. I have the competitive one. I need to try the cooperative one. So and you've got the
all right. So back to back, Spirit Island.
Back to back, Spirit
Orleon invasion.
That might be a long day.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I've heard really good things. There also is like I know they sell like a expansion of the number of players, but it seemed I don't know where it plays best at in your view.
Oh yeah, there's like a 5th player expansion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had it. I sold it actually because I never was going to have a 5th player, to be quite honest. But yeah, I'm fascinated by that competitive cooperative one because not everyone likes cooperative, but this is one of those games where I've heard even people who don't necessarily love cooperative say, well, it's actually better at cooperative. So I thought that was pretty unique.
And that was my number 17, Orleon. It's a good one.
Very nice.
But I'm going to jump on into number 16. And I see Ryan Clements is in the chat. And this number 16 is a game that he introduced me to. And this game blew me away. This is Rococo. And I put down Rococo Deluxe Edition. Rococo is a game where you are different tailors trying to make dresses and suits for a ball that is being thrown by Louis XV. And it is extremely cutthroat. Extremely cutthroat. There's a very tight economy for what fabrics you're actually going to have. And not only that, the money is really tight and you need money to do stuff, to purchase different things, either purchase cards, because it's a kind of like a deck building game, but you don't get to draw randomly. You look at all the cards in your deck, you choose what you want to play that turn, and then they stay in your discard. So you kind of like have that plan going on, but your plans will be foiled as the game goes on. And I did mention money is extremely tight. So if you need money, it's going to be rough unless you make dresses. And when you make dresses, you're either selling them for money or you're putting them on the board. And putting them on the board is the only way to get victory points. So it's a balance between you got to get the money or gotta get the victory points. Yeah, I know it's your number 1, and man, this game is great. It delivers so well.
It's beautiful. I'm with Liz.
Yeah. And it's not a theme I would expect to see in a board game, but I'm so happy how it translates. It's so well done. It is
I see Ian O'Toole right there. Okay.
Yeah, Ian O'Toole did the art. Yeah. And
it makes sense then.
Big production. It's one of those Eagle Griffin games, so it's in the same line as like Lisboa and all of the Vital Lacerda games.
This looks like one of those ones that grabs your attention if you're walking by.
Yeah. For sure.
And
it does.
I know I've not read that looks good. Plays good, but this one I've heard all of that, so I can understand why. I mean, Ryan's saying number 1, you've got this here at 16, so this one being high does not shock me because I've heard you mention this before. I didn't know if it'd be in your top 20 though.
It sure is.
I figured your top 25, top 30. I did not know the track, so it's cool to see that it did make it.
Yeah, and it's one that I could even see climbing more if I play it some more. The deluxe edition comes with all the expansions built in. Nice. And yeah, I agree with Ryan as well that he prefers the original art, and so do I. For real.
Okay.
The original art is really nice. Don't get me wrong. I think Ian O'Toole was fine. I just feel like art-wise, the original one is a lot.
No, I got to look it up.
You should. You might agree or disagree. But yeah, that was Rococo, my number 16. But my number 15, I want to chime in because you mentioned there was games that you thought would be my 25. This one, there was actually a game that was my number 21, and number 15 is actually a re-implementation of my number 21. This is Star Trek Frontiers. And Star Trek Frontiers is primarily a solo game. It's basically a re-implementation of the Vlaada Kevato classic Mage Knight, right? Mm-hmm. And in this game, you are the captain of one of the ships. You can either be Picard or you could be Cisco. You could be, I forget the Klingon captain's names, but the Duras sisters is one of them, and I forget the other one. And then in the expansion, you could be Kirk, which is, that's pretty cool. And in this game, you are exploring the galaxy, flipping over different tiles to reveal different, Romulan ships that you're going to be, pew-pewing. And then there's also what's different about this though is in Mage Knight, a lot of the territories you kind of have to go in and conquer, whereas in Star Trek Frontiers, the territories are now planets, and you can go on away missions. You could send people from your team to go on away missions and try to win over the planet diplomatically, as opposed to just destroying them in outer space.
That's interesting.
And yeah, and this game, I mean, I prefer Trek over, I prefer a Trek theme over a generic fantasy theme for sure. So, and it delivers so well. It was on my 10x10 last year. So I
Did you
played it
succeed?
solo. I did succeed. And I played a couple with Khan in there too, because in the expansion you get Khan as a guy. So I got to fight Khan, which is a really interesting take on the solo mode.
You mentioned obviously the re-implementation. What makes this one higher?
The diplomacy for sure. That's one. The theme overall. I mean, I'd rather play Star Trek, and it feels pretty Star Trek. There are times where you do have a little bit of freedom in terms of what you could do. Like you don't want to be Captain Picard and like blow up a planet. That's kind of out of character, but the game's not stopping you doing that. So but at the end of the day, I'd rather play with the little starships and recruit Data or Spock on my thing, because Spock comes in the expansion, so of course I want Spock on my team. And beaming down the planet is what is the diplomacy of the planets, and that's what it's just so much fun. It's really fun. It's a great solo experience. If you like solo gaming, you should give Mage Knight a shot. Star Trek Frontiers is a little bit easier than Mage Knight 2, in terms of rules complexity and also difficulty, but it's still a pretty fun time. And the expansion is like a must if you're really gonna get it.
So you say it's a great solo game. Is it
Yeah.
also great with other people? I mean,
I've played it 2-player
Okay.
a couple times, but I still think it's better solo. And here's why. Just like with Mage Knight, Mage Knight and Star Trek Frontiers are both deck builders. And the thing is, when you draw your hand, you could do so many things with your cards. You could do tons of different actions. However, there's only one right thing you should do, really. And you have to go through your cards and kind of figure out what is the most optimal solution. So it's kind of like a puzzle in that regards. And that leads to a lot of analysis paralysis and downtime.
Okay.
And if I'm playing solo, I ain't got to worry about that.
Yeah.
I don't got to worry about that. So, but yeah, that's my number 15, Star Trek Frontiers. I'm going to go to number 14, though. And I do want to mention Vlaada Chvátil, because Vlaada, I feel like, is my favorite board game designer, even though, spoiler, none of his games are in my top 10. But I love Vlaada's designs. Now, my number 15 is Vlaada. 14 is also Vlaada. And this is a game that I mentioned before. I've never played my physical copy of it. And that is Through the Ages, A New Story of Civilization. So Through the Ages is basically a kind of like a Civilization board game, like the computer game Civilization.
Okay.
It's kind of like that. And you get a leader, you get to discover different tech, and you're just trying to get the most victory points. Basically, you're doing that either, and they're called culture points in that, and you could get it through religion. Then there's wars you could do. There's different leaders that will upgrade. So you start off with like choosing like Julius Caesar, or you could do Homer. You could do Moses, I think was a starting one too. Then you go to Leonardo da Vinci. Then you go to like Napoleon. Then you go to like Bill Gates. So and then technology builds on. You could have like, you start with you can have like swordsmen on the picture over there, and then it goes up to like military people. You have knights that turn into like they will turn at some point into like tanks. So it's a really awesome tableau builder, and it's one that, like I mentioned, I never played in person. I've played it on the app, and the app is phenomenal. And I don't really care for Civilization in the video game. Sorry, Ryan. I know you like Civ, but
Oh, me?
yeah.
I'm okay with it.
Okay, cool.
I do a lot of stuff to make other, to hang out with other people. We're talking about the game,
Yeah.
but, the past few days. Yes, I'm okay with it. I'm not in love with it as some other people, but
Well, in that case, give Through the Ages a shot because it's not Civ.
I don't know if I could play it on a phone though, man. That looks
No,
like
you could do it.
pretty
Well,
crowded.
you can do it on an iPad. It works though. I used to do a lot of commuting to the city, so
Gotcha.
it was a good one.
What's interesting is I know this. I always see this one all the time. I know this one, Board Game Geek. I'm pretty sure it's in the top 10. It's actually number 9 in the rankings on Board Game Geek, which obviously does tend to lend towards heavier. But I always hear about this one, and it has had tremendous staying power on that list. I mean, I don't know a time, but I've looked at Board Game Geek since it came out that it was not.
I think the highest it's gone to is number 2.
Yeah. Wow. It's dropped. Actually, being at 9 is lower for it. It used to be higher.
Yeah, it used to be Pandemic Legacy and then Through the Ages, I believe.
Yeah. And this is like a second edition, right? Because the first one's just a story of civilization.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I was laughing at Ryan Clement's comment. He's like, "Knights to Tanks, what a technology!" But,
that is.
And by the way, for the record, earlier you said Spirit Island. Spirit Island's 11 on BGG. So
wow.
So so far you've got 2 in.
I agree with BGG. 20. You'll see. But yeah, that's my number 14, Through the Ages. And if anyone wants to ever play with me, you're more than welcome to just reach out to Ryan Espin on Through the Ages. I'm always willing to play there. Okay, my number 13. Barros, you mentioned this one. You mentioned, I wonder if it's going to be on there.
Yeah.
Here it is. My number 13. My next money sink. Marvel Champions, the card game. Yeah,
I didn't want to give it away for the potential person who didn't know what I was talking about, but
I like this game a lot. Marvel Champions, the card game, is a living card game where you are playing as a different superhero and you're constructing your deck, and you're going out to fight a big bad that has some sort of scheme that they're performing, right? So in the beginning, it's like Rhino is trying to rob a bank. It goes as little as that to all the way to like Thanos and trying to get the Infinity Gauntlet together. So in Marvel Champions, you're working together as heroes and you're playing cards from your hands, but the cards you're playing from your hands, you're trying to kind of math it out. There's a lot of math in it. It doesn't really feel too thematic, to be honest. And that's okay though, because I still enjoy the math of it. And in the game, you're spending cards for energy and then using that to play cards. It has a really nice balance. There's tons of variety. There's tons of heroes now, but there's still no Doctor Doom. So because of that, it's only number 13.
Wow.
Yeah, man. Bring in Doom. It could be in top 10. But yeah, I do really enjoy this one. I love teaching new people how to play it. We just taught someone new, Chris, one of my friends who was into comics and is into board games but never played Marvel Champions. I'm like, don't worry, let's do it. And we did it, and he had a blast.
Over Zoom. It was just over Zoom. Over Zoom. And it's so easy to do. I can play with anyone, anywhere. This one in particular, I dig this one. I'm not saying it's going to be a crossover, but I will say I like this one a lot.
Yeah, I
have a Captain America shield behind me. If anyone doesn't think, I would try to hide this as a crossover, but this will be a crossover at some point.
Sure.
What number?
Yeah.
But I do think the neat thing about this one is they have continued to evolve and listen, because when people are complaining, we don't have enough of this, they would do it. They said, we want it harder. And they made it too hard.
They're like too hard. Yeah.
They're like that. So I think they've done a good job with this one, and they have interest some cool people there based on what we're seeing. Some cool things are coming, and I'm very excited for folks who are interested and love Spidey. We got a Spidey box coming. We are going to get that. And it's a really
Nova
great time.
It's coming
too. Yeah, they got a good mix.
I'm
waiting for the Squirrel Girl pack. I have a custom one.
That would be good.
Girl. I want a legit Squirrel Girl. That's what I want.
Well, so there's a fan community that makes a lot of custom cards.
That's where I have it.
They go all over.
Custom Squirrel Girl.
Yeah,
and it's great.
Yeah. So That was my number 13, Marvel Champions. My number 12, though, is a game that was also in my 10 by 10 that I did finish. Yes, I did. This one is an app-driven board game, and so that might give it away. It is one that I actually picked up at Labyrinth in Washington, D.C. It's a really cool local game shop in D.C. area. And this one is called Alchemists. So in Alchemists, you are playing as different, I guess, alchemists. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to figure out the chemical composition of 8 different ingredients. So you see over there, like there's a frog, there's a scorpion, there's a mandrake root, and you're trying to figure out the chemical composition of them through an app. And what you do is you take these 2 cards, you scan them with your phone, and it tells you what kind of potion they make. It either makes a positive or negative potion, or like soup but it'll make different potions. And you use those potions to kind of Sudoku this board up and cross out possible choices for what the chemical composition could be of those ingredients. And that's the deduction part. Okay. Now, on top of that, it is also kind of like a worker placement, but not entirely worker placement where you're blocking off spots, but you are putting your worker cubes out to do different actions. And on top of that, even if you don't know what everything is, that doesn't mean you're not going to win, because this game is really a commentary on higher learning. And so it's all about people trying to publish theories, and you're using alchemists to publish your theories as to what you think this is. And when you're publishing, you have to spend $1 to publish your own stuff because no one believes you, because it's just higher learning stuff. And then you could also debunk other people's theories or your own theories. And then there's like this whole like elaborate thing into like, well, I didn't necessarily say it was this, but it is, yeah. And Ryan played 7 or 8 times with me on Bout de Jeu, the online board game arena equivalent, but like the French version.
Yeah.
It's really, really fantastic. I love it at 2 players. It's got a great solo mode. And the solo mode's unofficial, but it's really funny how they did it. And it's very tongue-in-cheek. It's a game that I will never say no to. It's just a blast. It's so cool. And so if you like deduction and with a little bit more meat, this is it.
The artwork is very misleading in this because it is a very deep game, right?
Yeah.
So again, one I haven't played, but I was watching a video, something about like 40,000 different combinations.
Yeah.
Like things you can make, like the I guess it has a really high replayability based on all the combinations of potions and whatnot.
Well, they had to change
really
it.
Cool.
They had to change the formula on the app for how things are generated, because how it works is we enter a game and then there's like a 4-letter code, and that 4-letter code was giving away some of the answers, and some people cracked that code, so they actually had to redo the logic for it.
I see.
Yeah. By the way, this game is I hope I'm saying this right, but Matuis Kotri. This is his only design. This is his only design.
What a way to start.
Man, this game is. I'm looking forward to his next thing, because he still, I believe he still works at CGE at Czech Games Edition, and I believe he was also one of the guys behind the AI of the Through the Ages app, because that AI is phenomenal. Like I always lose to the AI. It's so good. But yeah, and this game is just, it's you can play it online on Bout de Jeu. You can play it.
We might have to try that sometime.
I would love to teach you. This game is
is this his board game arena?
No, Bout de Jeu.
Okay.
BOITEAGEU.
Regardless, it's accessible. That's what counts.
Yeah, it's pretty user friendly. Their site. I've tried Concordia on there. It was. I think this might be easier, but just to step back real quick. So you're making these concoctions, these potions, and everything, and you get to test them.
Yeah.
Right. You can test them on yourself,
Yeah.
Or you can like pick students and stuff.
Yeah,
to
you can test them on
right?
interns. Yeah,
I
it's
thought that sounded hilarious.
yeah. The rules are so funny. You could test it on yourself, and if you test it on yourself and it's a negative potion, you get a negative effect.
Yeah.
But you can also test it on an intern, and the intern will drink the potion. And if it's a positive one, don't worry about it. If it's a negative one, the next intern that round that has to taste the potion needs to be bribed $1 to taste the potion. Yeah, it's just a lot of weird, like, flourishes of insanity in this game.
It's cool,
that I adore. Oh, and then also later on in the game, there's going to be people that come in asking for different potions. Like, oh, I want a positive red potion, a positive green potion, and a negative blue. So you say, yeah, I'll promise you that you can have that potion, and that doesn't necessarily mean you know what you're giving them. And that's a great way to do it. But I stand by my word on this. If you're going to be playing this game and you want good like the best strategy tip ever, always be publishing every turn. ABP, always be publishing in this game, because if not, you're going to fall behind. And it's Alchemists, number 12.
Cool.
All right, number 11 is a game that people like to poo-poo on a lot, because they're like, oh, this game, come on, everyone, so many games did it better than this one. And I say pooey to you all. Sorry. No, I don't mean that. A little bit mean that. But my number 11 is the classic granddaddy of deck building, the originator, the one that started it all, and that's Dominion.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, Dominion. Okay. Now, Dominion is a game that is still coming out with expansions. I still have all of them. I haven't played all of them yet. But this game, actually, I've played the most ever. There used to be a site where you could play Dominion online for free. And Don X would go, the designer, he would go and actually put test cards on there so people can test them out and stuff too. And I played, no joke, over 1,000 games of Dominion on there, because they're so quick. Once it's online, it's just 5 minutes, you're done. 2-player. Dominion is the classic deck building game. It's the one that started the deck building genre. Okay. And on your turn, you're going to be playing an action card. You're going to be purchasing a card, and then it goes to the next person. That's it. That's pretty much it. But the thing is, those action cards are what add the variety to the game.
Variability.
The variability, you know. And expansions are a must for this game. Expansions are a must for this game, and there's tons of them. If I have to tell you what expansions to get, definitely get Original, Intrigue, Seaside, Prosperity, and Dark Ages are great. Are all great to get. Oh man, that's the best housewarming gift ever. Jeez. And it's such a great game. Here's the thing about Dominion too. I always say that Fury of Dracula was the very first hobby board game that made me like that I played. Dominion is the one that made me stay in this hobby. When Dominion came out and I played it, I was like, yeah, I'm going to keep playing board games. This is amazing. Like, it's so cool how these games work. And Dominion is that game for me. If it wasn't, that game blew the socks right off of me. I'm not wearing socks right now. So it's still till this day.
They got blown off.
They're just done. That's it.
You something you said stood out to me when I played Dominion, and maybe this was it. And I still don't. I'm not upset about not being in my collection, not because you're nearby, but just not. But that said, when I had it, I really only did the base, and that might be, and maybe that experience.
Yeah, it's kind of bland.
Different. Have I had the expansions?
Yeah.
So
especially if you play other deck builders after.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem, because I would get into Clank and other things, and then ultimately a lot of it, my experience with deck building was like, all right, I get this. But the respect is that I think that's the piece. Like multiple people are talking about having respect for this game, and there's a reason. And I know some people who will just not play this nonstop, much like you were talking about. So it's earned the respect for a reason.
And it has that structure. I feel like a lot of times these deck builders, they don't have a structure in terms of, because I just said, you play an action card, you buy a card, you discard all your cards and draw 5 new ones. And there's a structure to that. And a lot of that gets lost in a lot of these deck builds where you're kind of just going bam, 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 bam. And the thing is, Dominion has that structure because, in my opinion, it has that structure so you could break it, because you can do that bam, 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 bam thing in Dominion. You just need to generate an engine to do it. It's not just letting you do it. You have to break your way through the rules.
Yep.
So I've played this a couple times, and I was actually going to say I'm very much in the same boat as Chris.
Yeah.
Where I probably, because it did come out so long ago and I played other deck builders before I got to Dominion.
Yeah.
That just something about it didn't grab me, but not to say, that it's a bad game. Like Chris was saying, the respect is definitely there.
Yeah.
I do have a question though. So
yeah,
do you have any beginner tips? Because back to that structure thing,
Yeah.
I felt like I went into that and I knew how to play the game. I knew what to do, but I was not aware, I guess, of this structure thing, and that I was supposed to do things in a certain order. Otherwise, I was not going to, maximize my capabilities. And we got crushed. I was with another new guy, and then we were with the guy who owned the game, and he just crushed us because he's like, "Oh, you're supposed to do this, this, and this." And how am I supposed to know that I'm,
So
without...
first of all, even though I play a lot of Dominion, I'm not very good at Dominion. But no joke, there was, and it's probably still there. There was a site called DominionStrategy.com, I think.
Okay.
And no joke, when I was playing online Dominion, I would always go through there and kind of read about like how that is. One of the big articles, the classic article there is the money engine. Sometimes it's better not to get specific action cards when you could just get a silver. You really have to weigh it, because as soon as you get a silver, you're gonna get a gold. As soon as you get a gold, you get another gold, and after you got at least 2 golds, you can start going crazy on provinces, because that's also the structure. That's also the balance I love. Your victory points are bloating your deck, and I love that about Dominion. It's not like these are my set aside victory points. Well, an expansion has that too, but this primarily your victory points are bloating your deck, and there's that balance as to when do I actually start going for that, and then there's a whole thing about having like a duchy race, and I need to get all the duchies and stuff, because duchies are great because they could tip your score over to the win. So
okay,
yeah, go sometimes don't go for the action card, sometimes just go for silver and then gold. Sometimes if there's goons, go for goons. Go for goons. If there's double actions and goons, go for double actions and goons and make your opponent cry. Because if you don't, they're going to do it to you. And if pirate ship is going to be played, don't play with pirate ship, because that card is awful.
It sounds like too. I just want to point out we've now had a few deck builders in here and one set of trains. I'm just going to say it.
Well, I think. Hang on. Technically, there's probably a card that has a train in that. Through the Ages, I believe, has trains in one of the expansions. In the expansion, there's trains. And yeah, anyways, don't worry. All the trains for the top 10. My number 10 is actually a miniatures game. So, cheating. It's also a game that is DIY, and it's just a book that is sold to you. And that is Gaslands. And that's my son. He's playing Gaslands. Gaslands is a Twisted Metal kind of board game where you're going out into your cars and going into like a death race, and you're literally going to a race. You're either going around. You could do the death race scenario. You could do like the fight them, beat them up. But honestly, the death race scenario is fantastic. You take your cars and you are going to be souping them up with different weapons. You'll have like machine guns and whatnot. And the player who wins is either the first to cross the finish line or the last team that is standing. Not only that, though, I didn't mention that all the game comes with is just a rule book. Everything else is on you. The game is designed to be played with Hot Wheels cars. I love that so much. Miniatures are so expensive. Hot Wheels are $1 at ShopRite. Come on, like, I can go to the supermarket and pick up some cars for Gaslands.
Yeah. Definitely accessible.
Yeah, and it's so easy. Though in this picture, those are all Hot Wheels I've purchased. And then I also have those crates over there. Those crates are just paper, like cardstock paper. I printed them out and just folded them. Yeah.
They look good.
And so there's 2 Gaslands. There's the original book came out, I believe, in 2017. Gaslands Airfield is the updated one, so just like version 2.0. And it's really just a rule set. If you've played X-Wing miniatures game, the movement thing is the same exact thing. You take a template, you put it in front of your vehicle, and you move. Okay, but then there's some more to it. You could actually, there it is. Yes, exactly. So, and I don't get me wrong, I think X-Wing is a fine game. Gaslands, though, I would never play X-Wing again because Gaslands is just phenomenal. And this rule set you could apply to anything, which is great. And yeah, so all the cards, different abilities. You can have like remote control rockets and RC bombs and stuff like that. But honestly, if you want to try it out, just get 4 Hot Wheels, 2 for you, 2 for a friend. Do the race. That alone is phenomenal. You're going to be laughing so hard playing this game. It's such a great game. That's Gaslands number 10.
And half the fun of this game, though, is redoing your cars, right?
Oh, yeah.
You're painting the Matchbox cars. And
some people go all
Warhammer
out.
bits and stuff on it.
Yeah, some people go all out, adding like Warhammer bits. People are adding like this like mesh from like Michaels. They're taking apart these Hot Wheels and like stripping the paint and stuff. I just go right in with my Hot Wheels. I'm like, I don't want to jump.
But if I feel like, because I have done a couple cars. I've never actually played the game, but I was prepping to do so. But it is a good step into getting into like the mini painting kind of hobby, because if you mess up, like you said, a 99-cent Hot Wheels car, what's the big deal, right? You're not going out and spending $30 on a Warhammer miniature or whatever.
But not only that, if you mess up, that's part of the charm, because the game is meant to be like a post-apocalyptic Mad Maxy kind of thing. So it's okay if your car looks like the dog's breakfast.
I like that outlook, though. The idea of it does get you into it, because like you think about how many great miniature games are out there that you are afraid to paint. Now. Oh man, you start to learn. It's a good way to learn, and just buy a whole batch of them, and then go to town, see what you make.
Yeah. All right. Number 9. Let's get into trains.
Dun, dun, dun.
Is a big train one. This is a classic that I've only played multiplayer in person once. That's Age of Steam. Age of Steam is phenomenal. In Age of Steam, you are basically buying different. You're buying different. You're using your money to buy different rails out and deliver cubes. You're picking up and delivering cubes. So you're trying to deliver a cube from one city to the other, and as long as the cube color matches the city, it gets brought into that. This game has been re-implemented into Steam and Railways of the World. However, I love Railways of the World, by the way, and it's not on this list. But because Age of Steam, though, has a lot of teeth. Has a lot of teeth. It could be very, very mean and punishing. Your first game, just focus on not going bankrupt, because some maps can be very unforgiving. But man, if you go in this figuring out like learning all the rules, excited to go in, you're gonna have a great time coming out, because this game delivers so much, no pun intended. When you're doing this game, the way to win is to score the most, have the most money at the end of the game, and you're doing that by delivering. But when you deliver, you don't need to use your own pieces. You could actually use other people's trains as well. So if there's a space that's 3 blocks away, and I have 2 links, so 2 rail connections between those spots, and Barros, you have 1, I could do that. I could deliver it. I would get 2 points. You get 1. That's how that works. And sometimes you want to do that because you want to purposely take that better spot away from someone, and other times you may just want to do it because you're going to get the biggest bang for the buck on it, and Age of Steam, it does such a great job of doing it. I highly recommend trying it out if you have the opportunity. I've been tempted many a time, and it's not going to happen this year, many a time, to attend Age of Steam Con in Kansas City, Kansas, not the Missouri part, the Kansas part. and it's just a convention of just Age of Steam, because there's like over 200 maps of Age of Steam, and they all add some different things. They keep coming out with new ones every year.
I was going to say that one you have in the middle there, that's an Ian O'Toole one, right?
Yeah, that's Ian O'Toole. That's actually I believe that's the Barbados map, and that was designed by Ted Alpash, the guy who does like Werewolf and stuff.
Suburbia too.
Yeah, Suburbia as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the one with my friend Louis and me, that was that's the Rust Belt one. That's just the standard beginning map, and just that alone is a blast.
It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So some people literally their whole collection of games could literally just be their Age of Steam.
They could be.
You said 200 maps.
Yeah, like and they work for different player accounts. That's the thing.
Ryan Farrell, by the way, just to add to the Ryans,
right?
Popped in.
Where do we join the club?
Not doing this backwards, but I've been wanting to play Gaslands for so long. So I'd bring that up.
It's so great. It's so great. But yeah, so that's Age of Steam. Age of Steam would have a punch right in the gut. Yeah, well, you know. Also, too, I did mention it is mean. And there's bankruptcy could happen, and when bankruptcy happens, it's just like, I guess, Monopoly. You leave and you go do something else.
So I guess that's useful at the con, because you're out. Just go find another game.
Yeah, right. It's useful at the con, at least.
So is this kind of like a combo between like we'll say like 1846 and Railways? Like it seems like it has some of the elements of both, because in Railways, you know, like you said, you can only use your own lines.
Yeah.
But I think it's really interesting the fact that I could use other people's lines, because I like Railways.
Well, it's a little on the brass end too, because in brass you can use other people's links to deliver things. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you don't really buy stock in things. You are just like, you are the red player or you are the green player. Those are your links.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. So that part's very similar to Railways then.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
what separates
similar.
it? What separates it? And I only say this because if anybody wants to go play Railways, they can do so right now on BGA.
Right.
But you can't play Age of Steam online, so it's not quite as accessible if you don't have other people to play with.
It's the Dominion thing. It's got a really nice structure. In Age of Steam, now, so you could choose to take out as many shares in the beginning of the game as you want, and every round you could choose to take out as many shares as you want to have your starting money. But every turn you have to pay back your shares. You have to pay back your shareholders, and that number never goes down. So they're always collecting interest.
There's a lot of risk there.
There's tons of risk.
Yeah.
That's what. Now the next thing is, there's a bidding phase. And you're bidding for turn order in specific phases of the game. So bidding for turn order for laying rails first, for the first to lay rail, the first to deliver a good, the first to do this. You're bidding for that turn order. And the thing is, it's kind of in the forced sale route, where the player who bid the most, they have to spend all their money. Next person has to do half and stuff. It has that vibe to it. So it's like a push your luck kind of auction.
Yeah, that's actually really cool too, because if you want to keep delivering goods every time, you want to be the first person to do it, you just keep bidding for that.
Right. And then there's also, like Railways of the World, your locomotive needs to be high enough in engine level to actually make the links. It's got a lot of gears.
I feel like if you're doing a lot of thinking, like you definitely have to start at that lowest level with this.
And I recommend the Rust Belt for everyone. The Rust Belt, that's the one I played right there. It was 4 players, and it's a great time. You want to do it with 4 players. If you have a higher player count, don't do the Rust Belt. Do something else. Do a different map, because that one's not forgiving at higher player counts. And there's a whole Google spreadsheet that people put together, because of course. But I'm gonna go to my number 8 now. My number 8 is not a train game, but it's on BGA in beta right now. Congratulations, welcome to beta. And that is my number 8, the one and only, my favorite area control game, El Grande.
Here it is.
El Grande.
I thought it'd be higher. I thought this would be higher. I thought this is cracking your top 5, to be honest.
It's definitely top 10. El Grande is a fantastic area control game. I've poo-pooed I've done my own share of poo-pooing on other area control games. I've gotten rid of area control games in my collection, because at the end of the day, Why would I play them when El Grande is a thing? In El Grande, this is an area control game where you are putting out your cubes, board, and that's pretty much how you do that. You don't fight. There's no dice for fighting. It's not like Risk or anything like that. You're just putting out your cubes. The game is 9 rounds. At every third round, you score points. Player with the most points wins. Now, what's going on is in this game, too, you're also bidding for turn order, and your turn order will add more cubes to your supply for the lower the number it is. But the higher number it is, that will make you go first. So you can play a 1 card to guarantee you'll go last, but that also takes 6 of your cubes and go in the thing. Yeah, that's the king. That's not the first player marker. That's the king, baby. And the king's region is taboo. So nothing can go in and out of the king's region while the king is in there. So red's pretty good right now there. And when you're placing your cubes, you're either placing them, you can place as many cubes as you're able to based on which action card you selected. You're going to place them directly adjacent to where the king is, or you could put some in this giant tower. It's just like this big, it's just this big cardboard tower that you can just say, I'm dropping 2 in, and you need to remember that for the rest of the round, because when it comes to the third round, you score that tower first, and then you secretly choose, before you reveal, you secretly choose the people in your tower. Where are they going to go on the map? And that really messes with things. Now, when things score, the player who has the most points in a region scores the number on the left. In the case, and then second most, and then third most, right? In the case of a tie, both players go down 1. Okay. And not only that, if you're in the king's region and score first, you're going to get 2 bonus points. And if you're in the region, if you win in the region where your grande is, which is the bigger cube, you're going to get another additional 2 points. It's such a great, fun game. I highly recommend playing on Board Game Arena. I don't necessarily recommend playing it async, though. It loses some of the charm.
Yeah, I can see
you
that.
really want to play this in person, and when you do, it flies. You play with experienced players, you can be done in an hour. And here's the other thing too I want to stress. El Grande came out in 1995, same year as Settlers of Catan, right? And I 1000% think this game should be what Catan is. This is a great gateway game.
Like as popular and
yeah, as in
accessible and
it's like this is the gateway game for Euro games.
Okay.
That's what Catan became. And I'm not gonna,
Your description of this, I'm already more interested in this than Catan.
Now, but here's the thing, though. You need to play with exactly 5 people.
Okay.
Exactly 5. So again, like Battlestar, and just know going in, there's a lot of messing with other people's plans, and it's just so it's the tension is just this is in my top 10 for a reason, and I adore this game. And I will play it anytime I'm able to with 5 players. 4 is still good. 3 is not bad for learning the rules. Don't ever bother with 2. It's out of print right now, but hopefully it comes back, especially with the Board Game Arena implementation.
I didn't know it was out of print. Wow.
Yeah. So I got El Grande Big Box because you posted it on BGSmack deals. So
awesome.
Thank you for that. It's now happily in my collection.
What comes in? Sorry, go ahead, Chris.
No, go ahead. No, please.
I was just going to say, what comes in the big box? Because you mentioned the player count issue. Is that because of the map? Like, would a different map change that viewpoint? Like, would it still be good with 3 players if you had maybe a smaller map?
The map doesn't change. There's only a couple things where there's additional rules that you could play with, like Portugal being so Portugal is in this map of the Iberian Peninsula as well, and it doesn't count as a region, but you can make it count as a region. It also comes with there's like some rules with like how docks are handled, like how things are handled with like bordering the waters. I've never played with any of the expansions except one which was like a promo expansion that was whatever. And honestly, just the base game alone, if you're able to get it. Like for real, get it. Like if you see a good price, get it. You know, like this game has such staying power. Yeah, I think, and someone said that too, right? Someone said staying power. That was two most difficult.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was Ryan Clements mentions back
Oh,
then.
that was Ryan. Yeah.
Yeah, he said it's a good example of a game that semi-pioneered Dejamba has extreme staying power.
Yeah.
So.
And it's why play any other area of control when you play El Grande?
If this is in your top 8, I will say this: I'm going to be fascinated by your top 5 because I thought this was in your top 5.
Okay.
The way I've heard you talk about this.
All right. Well, let's go back to trains. Number 7 is a game that Ryan, you know very well. It's 1846. The race for the
1846.
Yeah,
I do know it well.
Yeah,
I have feelings.
Yeah. Why don't you tell me your feelings?
No, you talk about the game first.
All right, I love this game. This is my favorite Tom Lehman game. Tom Lehman, the designer of Race for the Galaxy, Res Arcana. But 1846, holy moly, what a great accessible title to the 18xx genre. This is a really great train game. So how this game works, 18xx games in a nutshell. It is all player-driven gameplay where you are purchasing stock in different train corporations. The player who has the most stock is the president, and they get to decide how the train is going to lay tracks and what tracks they're going to use for making money. And then they get to choose if they want to pay that money to people that have shares, including themselves, or they want to hold on to that money and put it into the company's pocket so they could use it for bigger and better trains, right? This game is excellent. When I first played this game, I hated it because I just started learning 18xx games, and they go one of two ways. And I learned one way. And because of that, this game completely turns a lot of things on its head. 18xx games are games where you could not only buy stock in other people's in corporations, you could also dump your stock on people. So you really shouldn't be attached to your train companies, which is tough, especially for beginner players. This game is very much geared to, I guess, nourishing a company and making sure it succeeds the best you can. You could start with a company in the beginning of the game and win with that same company at the end. You're not really dumping. You're not really being as cutthroat as you can be. But there's definitely still a lot of cutthroat play. Don't get me wrong. And it's a game that I just keep coming back to. I play it online. There's a site called 18xx.games. Oh, yeah. And this and Jonathan just commented.
What's up,
Jonathan? And this picture, I've actually never played this game in person as well too, but I did open the packaging, unlike through the ages. And this picture, I recreated his win, his win of the game. So this is his winning state. So take a screenshot. It's all yours. You talk to me about 1846. I played a lot with you, Ryan.
Yeah. So in this game, he was New York, right?
Yeah.
I think I was PRR. Yes, I remember this.
Yeah.
Before I start, I have a question.
Yeah.
When you played this live, have you say you played it live?
Yeah. Live. Sorry, live on 18xx.games.
Okay, but not in person.
Not in person.
So in person, I feel like this would be a drastically different game because I think you're going to be sitting there trying to negotiate with people, being like, "Hey, I'll help expand your, your rails in this direction or whatever. Can you work with me on this?" Because I feel like these games are very much ones where you want to work with other people on just long enough, until you can, leave them behind and take the game for yourself.
There's definitely negotiations for sure. I've done live. I've done live playthroughs of this game, but like online, and there's definitely table talk. Now this one, I feel like though doesn't have as much as some of the other ones for sure, because there's not a lot of dumping in this game.
No, it is actually, you brought that up, and it is actually kind of, you have this like, oh, master plan. I'm going to boost this up, steal all the trains, because you can sell your trains to other train companies, right? So
yeah, and train companies that you own too.
Yeah. So company B is going to buy all company A's trains and then leave them out to dry. And everybody who owns company A is just going to be screwed, right?
Yeah.
Well, no, it's really hard to do that. Like you said, it's not super cutthroat, but because you have to, the other people have to have at least 2 shares, I think it was.
Yeah.
Still into the company.
To dump it.
It's a really fun game. Out of all the 18xx games I've played, it probably still is my favorite. There's 1840, as I said, is growing on me.
Yeah, I need to try that.
It's really interesting, but this one's cool because so after you run your train line, you have an income based on how many cities you hit, and that income you either paid out to all the shareholders. You can pay half, so half goes to the shareholders, half goes to the company, or you withhold all of it and it goes to the company. And those are tough decisions, but not a lot of 18xx games have that half pay, and 1846 does. And it makes that decision, I think, a lot, especially for newer people like myself, a little bit easier.
Yeah,
because I don't think you're shooting yourself in the foot like completely by doing like a half pay, whereas withholding all those funds for a company because you're trying to save up for a train, it can have a pretty drastic effect because your company's then not moving up the stock market. Your shareholders are not being paid, which is yourself, and which means you don't have any money going into the next round to invest in other companies or into that company. There's a lot of interesting things going on, but I do agree with you. 1846 is a great place to start.
And I want to stress too that all of these games, even though there's definitely some plays that seem more obvious than others, a lot of these games, especially in the 18xx genre, there's a ton of player interaction. There are tons of decisions, and a lot of things are trying to see what is going on at the table to really understand what direction you should go.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
And it's huge. It's huge how different these games can feel. It's huge. I mean, a lot of them use the same rule sets, but it's crazy how different they are. And it's all because of the players. It's all player driven. It's not like you're going through the same motions.
I think you got the hook in me with 1846 and one other, maybe NE. I can't remember what the other ones. Yeah, so 1 or 2 of them. And then I'm like, oh, I'll just join all these games that are going on the 18xx website, because other people post theirs. And there's other ones outside of those 2 titles, right? So I'm joining those, and they are all drastically different. And a lot of them, I have no idea what I'm doing, but it is interesting how they can all be so crazy.
It's a big cult. You'll join us soon, Chris. Don't worry. Don't worry, because I'm going to show you my number 6, and that's how I'll bring you in.
All right.
My number 6 is another 18xx game. Sorry, believe me, this is the last 18xx game. That's 18 Chesapeake, which I just recently taught. This is the very first 18xx game I played. Huh?
Possible I don't believe you.
Well, no, it is. It is. This is literally the last 18xx game on this list. And Chris, this one is the one that got me into playing 18xx. So during COVID, when everyone was on lockdown, I was just like, you guys, how am I going to play board games with people? So Board Game Arena, sure, I could definitely actually do it. I decided to visit the new site that just started out, which is called 18xx.games. At the time, it was new. And I tried out 18 Chesapeake, and I played with a friend who taught me how to play because he's like, hey, you love this game that we play. You're going to love this one. I'm like, okay, cool. So I play it, and I had to play it again. It was like, oh my gosh, what just happened? Like, this is, and 18xx games, I'm sure I'm not the only one that's like this. I dreaded for a very long time trying an 18xx game. This looks crazy. I'm not gonna like this. I've tried different kinds of games. I'm probably not gonna like this. I adore 18 Chesapeake. It's such a fantastic entry to the 18xx series. It's one I constantly go back to. Now, I do have it high up. I could see myself as I play more 18xx games that something will surpass 18 Chesapeake for sure. But as an entry level one, it's great. It teaches a lot of the fundamentals of 18xx. You have that company dumping. You have some of that teeth in there. It's not as brutal as some of the other ones. But it is a great time to learn how to play. It's great when you're playing with people. I've done this one live with friends, and there was negotiations. There were shenanigans. There were people saying, "Oh, I'll buy this train from your company," and I was like, "All right, well," and they were getting their way to the top. And again, it's all player dependent, these games. I really like this one a lot. I just taught it. I played it with Squirrel recently. We did a 2-player variant, and yeah, this one is an excellent entry level 1-in-1. I recommend, if you're ever interested in learning 18xx games, do this one. This one is like, it's friendly enough to new players and has some teeth for some vets.
And I watched I watched as you did the teach the other night, and it did seem a lot more accessible as you talk about some of the other games. This one seemed really accessible.
Yeah.
Approachable, actually, the word. Yeah. Approachable, not accessible. Accessibility is a different thing.
Yeah.
This one seemed really approachable, and the one that I would be able to say, all right, Leah, let me try it. As you said, even in your teach, first time you play, be ready to sit there, right? You know, you're going to be there a while, but you even said once you know how to play, it's a 2-hour game. So it's just a matter, I think, for some people who are looking at us, and I know it's still that's 18x, but it sounds like from everything you've said, let's try it, see what you think. And if you don't like 18x, but I knew nothing about 18x until meeting you. So I'm excited as I can guarantee you one thing, I will do this one. Yeah, and I will try this one out, and I will, because I do think it's really interesting, because I think when people think of trains, they think of Ticket to Ride, they think of some of these other things, but there's so much to it, and I think
there's a lot of it's a lot of beef. There's a lot of beef on
definitely
these, man.
There's some beef there.
Definitely try this one out. Okay, that ends my 18xx talk. Unless anyone has anything. Cool. Let's go to number 5.
We're in the top 5.
Top 5.
As we go into the top 5.
Oh yeah, good.
As we go into the top 5,
I forgot the screenshots, my man.
That's all right. I can bring them up.
You bring them up.
I'll bring them up. As we go into the top 5, I did want to just say thank you to everybody who did participate. I'm actually bringing them up as we speak now. We did a few people who dropped their top 5 in earlier. I'm going to do a screen share. By the way, just so you know, we didn't have too many votes, but 2 people thought you were going to have more than half your list was train games.
Fair.
So there you go. I apologize. I'm just trying to pull up the list here. So we did have some comments, and I did want to bring them up. So give me a moment here. And I'm going to say we asked, we're going to do this with each one, just inquiring about, what are your favorite games? What are your top 5? And I'm going to share my screen. You can see some. So our friends over at the Long Distant Gamers are here tonight. And just to talk a little bit about this, we got Lizzie's top 5, Petrichor, which I'm going to be talking with Lizzie about very soon.
I need to play that.
Yeah. Pandemic,
classic.
Hiroshima Hex, Gloomhaven, and Arkham Horror, the card game. There it is.
Yeah.
Brooks top 5, Gloomhaven, Tapestry, Mansions of Madness. We got City of Gods right there.
Teotihuacan. I got you.
Yeah.
Teotihuacan.
I was skipping that. Okay. I
learned how to say it because of Josh in the chat.
I know, but I never pronounce it right.
I'll tell you the fun fact about the Teotihuacan people after this.
Oh, I like fun facts. We got Kitty's top list from Long Distance Gamer as well. Fog of Love, Gloomhaven at 4, Mind Management, Concordia, and Letters from Whitechapel.
Yeah. There's 2 hidden movement games there.
Yeah. Frantic Plays, having some great chats with Frantic Plays on Twitter today. Feast of Odin, Luna Capital, Downfall of Pompeii, Dune Imperium, Dinosaur, and Laura Wright. Not my all-time favorites, but these are what I'm enamored with right now. And that's what this is about, really. And then 2 most difficult I know is here with us tonight. Obsession. We got.
Still need to play that.
Yeah, we got some really.
I need to play that. Sidereal.
I want to play that so bad.
Yeah, me too. Me too. You need like 7 people for that.
We got at the top of that list, Root.
I think it's Root.
Ethnos is pretty sweet too.
Yeah, I want to play Ethnos and Ponzi Scheme. I want to play.
And I got to do a shout out. Dina's awesome. Dina's introduced me to a bunch of people for the channel. Dina drops some really good ones right now in there. Pocket Paragons, which is a ton of fun. I've got some of the cards for that one now at the house from PAX. Whirling Witchcraft, really great stuff. And Latte Throwdown, I'm not as familiar with. So just some things to keep in mind. I just wanted to bring them up and bring you back to this. But thank you to everyone. We are going to do that with all the top 5. So I'll put the question out. If anyone else has not participated, you're going to have your chance to participate. We are going to have a top 5 for myself. Brian Chandler's in the chat. He's going to have one. And Danielle, who you've seen on our channel, is also going to have one. Those are the 4 that we're planning. And I think down the road, eventually we may have Squirrel on here. So there may be 5 total. I don't want to promise that one but just give him a chance because I don't think the list is complete yet. But that's some potential ones.
We've got number 1.
What?
So he has number 1 already, so no worries.
He has number 1. Yeah. We need a full list though.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's do number 5.
All right. My number 5 for a very long time was my number 1. This was a game that I was excited to try because of all the buzz on BGG. And it was after getting Dominion. I'm like, okay, I need to play the game that's number 1 on Board Game Geek. And I did. And I was like, eh. And a lot of you were probably like, eh. But I came back again. And I really liked it a second time. I loved it a third time. I adore this game. I know it's no longer number 1, but it's still very special to me. That is the game that a lot of people hate, but I adore. Agricola, the classic worker placement monstrosity of building farms. This, of course, was re-implemented later into a game that Chris Barrows, you and I will be playing soon. Caverna, your favorite. Your whole demeanor changed when I mentioned that game. Agricola is my 5th favorite board game of all time. It is my favorite worker placement game of all time, right? Yes, it is. It is very, 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 very tight. It is a game that it's classic worker placement. You take a worker, you put them on a spot. That's it. No one else is going to go there for that round. And what I love about this game, just like about Mage Knight, Agricola, you have different cards to draw, and those cards you got to decide how are you going to try to play them to get different combos. There's different cards that give you special powers that break rules of the games, and there's other cards that let you do one-time bonuses or sometimes ongoing things, but a lot of times there's one-time bonuses, and you're trying to figure out how can you pair these different cards to make them work. And I love that portion of Agricola. And when you play Agricola with people who play Agricola, it is a really tough time. The first year I was at PAX Unplugged, I signed up for the Agricola tournament. I lost, but I lost within 8 points, and I was in last place. The first place guy was 8 points ahead of the last place. And It is such a tight game. If you're playing Agricola, there's a lot of tight decisions. And the thing is, a lot of people are frustrated and don't enjoy Agricola because it can be pretty punishing. You have to constantly feed your workers, and it can be very, very, very punishing. So I would recommend, if you're getting Agricola for the first time, honestly, just get the revised edition that just came out not so long ago. I would highly avoid the all creatures unless you're going for like the big box. Then maybe get it, because I heard the expansions fixes some of the things that I did not enjoy. And then there's a family edition, which is meant to be a bit more, I guess, better for family, but I'm not going to bring Agricola out to family game night. That's not
I've actually heard good things about the family edition.
Have you?
Yeah.
I haven't. I don't know. It seems like a weird choice for
and just to clarify, the all creatures, that one is only 2 players,
it's
right?
2-player only.
Okay.
All creatures big and small.
Does this have all the scoring to the same level of Caverna? Because Caverna's got 20 million ways to score, much like
The thing in Agricola, you want to have a little bit of everything, because if you have nothing of one thing, you will have negative points. And yeah, and here's and you know, a lot of people don't like that. A lot of people don't like some of the restrictions. A lot of people don't enjoy some of that stuff. But it just clicks with me. I love that tension. I love going through agony of, I don't have enough workers for this turn to do what I want. I love that. I love these tight decisions in board games because I love constantly thinking on my toes and switching my gears around, because if I need to pivot and change what strategy I'm going for, that's what I love in board games. I love changing strategies, and Agricola does that in spades, because you have to, because where you wanted to go, someone else took.
Based on the rest of your list, I would say you definitely seem to be much more of an Agricola player than a Caverna player.
Yes.
I'm surprised you're interested in Caverna, to be honest with you.
Well, he's not interested in Caverna.
Oh, he's not.
He
okay.
wants to make me play it.
Yeah, so Caverna is no joke. Barros is like one of his least favorite board games of all time. But
second least favorite.
Yeah, second least. I think the first is the Lost board game.
It's a lot more open-ended, right?
That should not exist. As much as I love Lost, yes.
It's a lot bit more open with your decisions.
Yeah.
As opposed to like Agricola.
Yeah, Caverna is a bit more open with your decisions. And don't get me wrong, I still think Caverna is great. I believe it's still in my top 100 even. Like it's a pretty it's still top 100 for sure. But when it comes down to it, I just love the tight decisions and the card play of Agricola. And it's so satisfying at the end. You see your little farm. Look how nice that farm looks. Got a lot of piggies and got sheep in there. Look, there's a horse. He's in the house, or she's in the house. There's a horse in the house. That's pretty cool.
It's very nice. It's very nice horse.
Some mud.
Just real quick, you didn't say it, so I want to say it. You can play this online at playagricola.com.
Yes. And BGA now.
Oh, is it on there too?
It's on BGA. Okay. Yeah.
Even better. Yeah,
it's on BGA. They added new decks to it. It's the revised edition. So, Brian, you could play it you could play online, see if you like it or not. I'm more than happy to teach Agricola. Agricola is a game that's close to my heart. I learned how to say Agricola because there's a great video that teaches you how to say Agricola. Anyways, this game, let me play Agricola with you. Let me show you why I love Agricola. Yeah. Don't just go in blind.
I think it's like, if I can say this, for if anyone is interested and they like Board Gamery and everything, I can tell you Ryan and I are both on there. I actually both Ryans are on there, right? I don't want to talk. Yeah. I can't speak for you. I think I speak for Espin and say that I know we're both always up for playing. If you want to play online with the Tabletop Express, we like playing Board Game Arena. So let us know.
Yeah,
that's it. We'll try stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's so awesome to have that, right? Especially with everything going on. I mean, physical board games, great, amazing. Love playing with friends. There's games that I will only play, with other people in person. Yeah. But, it's nice to try a game out and not shell
$60 bucks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I get that wholeheartedly. All right, but I'm gonna dive right into my number 4 because this game is not on Board Game Arena because I would never play this online because it's a dexterity game and it's the lightest game on my list, and it is a very fun one. That's Crocodile. Number 4 is Crocodile. Yeah, so just when you thought I'm a one-trick trained pony, no way, Jose. Crocodile, the Canadian delight from the late 1800s.
Does your board have a picture of a train on it?
It doesn't.
Okay.
But it's funny. My son takes the discs in the gutters and moves them around and goes choo choo.
Oh,
so
okay.
I guess there's a train in that picture.
I'm not counting that for our.
Don't count it. Don't count it. Don't count it. So
that's your son's list.
Yeah. So Crocodile, what a fantastic game. In Crocodile, I saw Sherman Sit Down's video on Crocodile, and that blew me away. And I bought a board, the Mayday board, which is right over there, and it's really good. It's really good. Don't get me wrong. Crocodile wasn't like my top 20. PAX Unplugged comes around, right? And by the way, before this happens, that same year, 2019, I bought the board and I brought it to where I work in my office. And during lunch break after work, everyone in the office was in the back room playing Crokinole. We had a Crokinole tournament. Everyone was going nuts for Crokinole. Okay, we would just play Crokinole upon Crokinole. Got like a 15-minute break. Let's talk over the next thing we're gonna work on through some games of Crokinole. And Crokinole is such a great game. So how to play Crokinole? If there are any of your opponent's discs on the board, you need to flick your disc to hit that opponent's disc. If there's no opponent's discs on the board, your disc needs to be within that inner circle, not the hole, just the inner circle to stay into the next round. Okay. If it gets into the hole, great. That's even better. You score points. The player who at the end of the round, the winner of the round is awarded the difference in points. Okay. So if I get 20 points, you get 15 points. I'm gonna get 5 points. Okay. We play until 100, and that's Crokinole. I played nonstop this game. I played almost 200 times that year alone until we got to PAX Unplugged, and they were having a Crokinole tournament. And I'm like, we got to enter this. Me and my coworker, we got to enter this Crokinole tournament. We're in there. I go, I play on that board that looks like that. Oh my gosh. If you're gonna get a Crokinole board, get like the legit one, because holy moly, it is a different game. Yeah, it's a different game when you get the right board. This guy who made these boards is gonna be on the channel next week. That's Jeremy Tracy, Canadian legend. He'll be here on the Creators Corner to talk about Crokinole. I played on his board. Oh man, I entered this tournament. It was 80 people. There's 80 people in this tournament, and it was being run by the Philadelphia Crokinole League. There was a Philadelphia Crokinole League, and they're like, okay, who's we want to make it fair. So who's played a lot of Crokinole before? And I asked him, what's a lot? He's like, oh, over 200. So of course me, oh, my BG stats says I'm at 158 right now. That guy, I was grouped in him in the opening thing. And I made it to the top 20 of that Crokinole tournament. Wow. That guy's great, by the way. I'm friends with him now.
Congrats.
I love Crokinole. The Crokinole I could play nonstop. I actually played it today with my son. And it's a game that I'm never going to get sick of Crokinole. And if you are interested in trying Crokinole, just play it. Just spend $300 for a wooden circle to hang up in your house. Because it's not cheap to get a really nice board.
No.
They just did a Kickstarter on May Day. I don't recommend getting that one. That's my thing. Sorry.
I was joking that I want to get one of these, but I want it to be look like a Captain America shield.
Yeah.
And then I can double up with Captain America accessories and a Crokinole board.
Yeah.
And I did the math on the fact that I'm like, well, eventually I'll do that, and that's when I'll make the spend. And it's going to cost me even more, but that's fine. At least it'll look like a Captain America shield.
There's if you go to Board Game Geek, you can look at pictures of people's custom boards. Someone made a Fantastic Four board, and the 4 different quadrants are styled after the different members of Fantastic Four. And one of the parts is like an acrylic plastic, so it looks like the Invisible Woman. Like it's just like clear. The other one's like on fire. The other one's rocks. It's really cool. But yeah, I highly recommend everyone give Crokinole a shot. For real. I like these heavy games, but Crokinole made my top 5.
Yeah.
It's really good. All right.
Well, that means right, your top 3.
Top 3. You thought it'd be top 3?
I thought this would be top 5. I didn't know if it was top 3.
Yeah.
I was joking that Lupin Louis was going to be number 1, which
Lupin Louis just fell out of my top 100. It's a sad day. So, but don't worry. My number 3 is coming up. And it's a great one that you and I played Barrows. And Ryan, you and I can play it online. And I taught some members of BGSmack to play it. And that is Brass Birmingham. Okay, let's talk Brass Birmingham. So, Brass Birmingham is a game that that was basically, there was originally Brass, which then became Brass Lancashire. Brass Birmingham is like that, but 2.0. So it adds more complexity and fiddly rules that includes like beer and stuff, which Cheers. Hooray. Brass Birmingham, though. You play this game. What is happening? So it's also a very tough teach. Rodney Smith taught this game. I've fallen asleep 3 times watching Rodney Smith teach, and nothing against Rodney Smith. It's just, what is going on? And then what's great about this game is you play this game, you do all this stuff, and then halfway through the game you score, you clean up the board, and you play the same game again. But then there's like some different rules, because how the game works is that you're setting up the canal phase and you're putting out all the canal boats, and apparently this did happen where the UK had this huge canal system that would transfer goods, and then the rails came, they took all the canals away and built over them with railroad tracks. Not all the canals, there's still some. And Brass Birmingham is reflective of that, but what it does, in my opinion, better than Lancashire, it has a bit more nuance with the sales of things. Lancashire has like a off-board area where you sell to a market, and then you like flip a card, and then it's like, oh, you either did good or bad. And you kind of mitigate that. And don't get me wrong, I say that, but I still really enjoy Brass Lancashire a lot. But Brass Birmingham, though, it's like, why play El Grande when, why play any other area control when I play El Grande? Why play Lancashire when I play Brass Birmingham? It just sings. This game sings. So what's interesting about this game? Let's talk about it. You're building things on the board. Okay, you're building buildings on the board to score points. You're building railroads or canals on the board to score points. You're delivering goods to score points. And when you deliver goods, it's buildings that you're building. So like if you build you could build like a manufactured goods warehouse, and then you flip over that tile when you sell it, and you can use other people's trains, and no one gets points for that. But here's the thing: all the resources in the game, when you want to build like an ironworks or a coal mine or a brewery, those resources go on the board. Okay, and when they go on the board, other players can use those resources, and sometimes that's fine. But the thing is, when they take those resources away, when all the resources are depleted, those buildings flip over and score that player victory points as well as income. And there's this constant struggle as to, should I use that guy's stuff or should I build my own stuff? Because sometimes it does pay out. And yeah, it's just
that the mechanic you just talked about what got me about it, because we played this first time this year, and I think my reaction was, can we play again?
And that's what's my first reaction too. So, when I played Brass for the first time, as soon as it was done, I'm like, I want to play this again. And
we went back, we played online, we did something. So we played again. And it was a game that, of course, if we're playing online, we had to play in real time. I couldn't think through all the moves I was making if we didn't. But it was that experience of, and I did like that action of, we take the goods, but then now we get to flip it over, and suddenly you get a reward for that. And you know what I mean? So it was a fascinating game, and it didn't. I remember the second time we played, it felt quick.
Yeah.
And that was the thing for me. It felt quick. Like the first round flew like it flew. And then I got to the second round, and I felt the first time I played, just for anyone who's interested in this, first time I played, I was trying to figure out what the hell I'm doing.
Yep.
I got to the second go around when the air has essentially changed.
So much better.
And I'm like, oh crap.
Yeah.
And that's the reason I wanted to play, because I'm like, all right, now I got the first round. Let me fix my mistake. I did pretty decent in my first play. I felt pretty good about it, but I definitely took a ton away from it. So it's a neat game, but you need a good teacher. I will say you need people. I think if you try to teach yourself this game or watch it, I just don't know if it's the same as having a good teacher.
It's very tough. It's a very tough teach for sure, because there is a lot of nuances. There's a lot of bells and whistles that can be missed out on. But you are absolutely correct. This game does get you thinking, but it's not a brain burner. After you're done, I could play this again. I could just jump right into the next game, no problem. And and you could do bad, and But the thing is, you learn from your mistakes in this game. You learn from your mistakes and you apply it, and you can absolutely do better. There are certain plays that will become obvious the more you play it. And it's a game, just like 18xx games, are very player dependent, because you're really dependent as to what other players are doing on the board, and you're kind of at the mercy of that, and you kind of have to play off each other. And yeah, it's just woof, what a game. So we can play it online. There's a free version to play that is the game, but without the title. I think it's called like Coal and Iron or whatever is the game.
It doesn't look as pretty, but it plays well.
No, and this looks
what's
beautiful.
that on?
Yeah.
What's that on?
It's called the Game Parlor.
Yeah.
I think it's the gameparlor.online.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And they also have Hansa Teutonica on there, which I really want to play, but I haven't played that yet.
So we're at here. We're going for 3. We've gotten some big ones off the board. And I'm going to take a moment now. Again, thank you those who did submit in the chat. Thanks to everyone who's here. Certainly feel free to share some of your favorite games, especially your number 1 and number 2. If you like, we're going to have a bunch of these. So if you don't want to share it now and you want to come back for next one, which we're going to be doing, I believe I'll have to pull the date on that one. But that'll be, I'll bring that up in a moment, but feel free to save it. But number 2, Ryan.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Number 2.
We're near the end.
Yeah, we are nearing the end. And this game, I'm actually doing 2 asynchronous games of it right now. And I believe it's still your turn, Ryan, on this one, but that's okay. But
it's my turn now?
It's because one person.
Or is it Brian's? I think he took his turn.
Okay, so yeah, you know what this is. So my number 2 is Food Chain Magnate, and I'm wearing a hat, and that's my wife wearing a hat too. Food Chain Magnate is
it's a mean game.
You want to talk mean games? This is a mean game. This is a splatter game. Splatter games are known for, if you can't lose on your first turn of the game, then why play? It's like their running joke, but I don't think they really mean it. This game is mean though, and it is true. You make the wrong thing on your first play, you're out of the game, and there's no coming back. And you have to understand that this. You mentioned something about having a teach on this. 1000% for this. The teach of this game will make or break this game for you.
I could see that.
That's the facts. That's really the facts. You have a bad teacher for this. You just run in thinking that you can figure out what to do.
No,
you are not going to have a good time in Food Chain Magnate. This game is very cutthroat. So in this game, you're running a fast food restaurant, and you're fulfilling the needs of the people in town. And the needs of people in town are determined by what's marketed to them. Your first game, you could lose your first game on setup. That's true. So different items are marketed to those people in town, and they want exactly what is marketed to them. And they want it from the cheapest option, which is the cheapest, closest place. And if that place doesn't have exactly what they want, they'll move on to the next place. And not only that, if none of them have it, then they just don't want it yet. And they're just going to stay. They're going to stay next round with hungry. That desire for having that pizza and beer combo. And now they're going to have even additional things they want. But holy moly, this game is stupid in a great way. This game is really stupid because all of a sudden you could be playing. It's a tight game. And then how did you make $400 with this?
It's all about the marketing.
And it's all about the marketing, but it's more importantly all about the milestones. And this is what I love about Food Chain Magnate. Food Chain Magnate has a lot of really tongue-in-cheek rules. But the milestones are the best part about this game. So the milestones are like basically achievements. So the first player to market a pizza gets this bonus. The first person to hire 3 people gets this bonus.
First person throw out food
gets the freezer. Right? Gets the freezer, right? And you really want to play towards those milestones because they break the game rules. And the player who has most of the milestones is going to be doing a lot better than the person who doesn't. It's a game too that you always, 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 always learn from, because I've played a lot of Food Chain Magnate, and I know when I play, I know when I mess up. And when I mess up, I know not to make that mess up ever again, because you learn from your mistakes in this game. I've lost more games with Food Chain Magnate than I've won, but it's still a memorable experience and one I keep coming back to and I adore. It's my second favorite board game of all time because of it's so tongue in cheek. Okay, a lot of people I've heard the comment, "Oh, but it looks like a prototype."
It does.
That's part of the charm, though.
I mean,
like
some of the art in the game is
clip
ripped
art.
off of free clip art websites, straight up, and it costs $90 or whatever it's going.
It does. Now. Well, that's the thing, because Splotter.
I own it by the way. So I one of those fools that paid $90 for it.
It is crazy, because that was one of the things I was thinking. The other thing I was thinking, by the way, was some people may not like the cover. I think the cover is awesome because it's just got
it fits. It all fits.
It fits everything going on. So thematically, it makes sense that that does kind of look like a prototype-ish look. And I imagine that's part of the charm.
It is. This game has charm in spades, and you think this has charm in spades. The expansion has even more charm.
I have now played with that.
The expansion's wild. So it's hilarious. Let me explain the coffee rules. It's so funny. So, the coffee rules. What's going to go on is when people go to purchase food for restaurants, they will go out of their way. If there's a restaurant that's selling coffee, they will stop at that restaurant that's selling coffee to buy a coffee and continue going on their way. And they will stop at every place on the way that's offering coffee. But the restaurant that they end up in, they don't get coffee at, because it's kind of like a parody of people just coming into everywhere with Starbucks cups and whatever.
Yeah.
So they pick up every Starbucks on the way. And the rules say this: if there are two coffee places in equidistant of each other to the destination, the couple in the car fights and chooses not to get coffee at either and continues on their destination way. It's just mind-blowing. It's so funny to see some of this stuff. And then there's rules with sushi. So the houses with gardens, they usually pay more, but also double. If sushi is available, they'll go to get sushi instead of what they actually want, because sushi is more exclusive. And then it's just there's so much tongue-in-cheek fun in this game. And the expansion is a great time if you want to add some more variety.
You know what's funny? I want to make sure before I forget, I missed this, because we had some good comments about some top games here and some good choices. We've got Everdell Honeybuzz, which I still need to play. New York Zoo, which I do,
which is
have.
Uwe.
Lost Ruins, great game.
Great.
And Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detectives.
I love that game.
I got to play that one.
I have one case left in the Thames Murders that I'm going to be finishing this year, and then I'm done with that box.
There was also mention there, actually, in a follow-up to that, of other ones likely on the list: Furnace, Search for Planet X, and
Furnace
some other great ones.
I want to
try
Furnace.
Literally on my pre-order, as soon as it comes into the local store, they're going to call me and say, we have a copy of Furnace.
Yeah.
So because they want a copy of Furnace, they just don't have one right now.
They want your money.
Some good ones in there. I'm just trying to see if I missed anything else. And hopefully with a playmat. Yes, that's true. They were talking about Furnace, and hopefully with a playmat, because the playmat for Furnace is awesome. So.
Yeah. All right, we're time for number one. Is this it?
Number one.
Real quick for Food Chain Magnate.
Sure.
It is a complex game. There's stuff going on. There's interesting decisions. I can't speak for the expansion, but the rule book for the base game is very small.
Yeah.
There's really not much to it. It's only a couple pages. It's menu, right? Menu styles. So for somebody to actually jump in and actually learn the game, there's not a lot of work. Yeah. It's just those nuances and, not wanting to fall behind too quickly.
It's the tempo for sure. It's the structure. You need to play with the structure and break it. That's what you have to do. That's exactly what you have to do. then there's tons of gears going on and tons of decisions. There are really, really tight, good decisions in this game.
And I don't necessarily think somebody's first game has to be like bad. Like,
right.
Yeah, you need to teach and everything. But as long as the other players aren't being super aggressive, it's going to depend who you're playing with.
And that's the thing. It's very easy to be super aggressive to new players in
Yeah.
Food Chain Magnate. And if you're playing with if you're playing Food Chain Magnate with new people and you are an experienced player of Food Chain Magnate, or even if you play like 5 games of it, please don't be a jerk.
Yeah,
like
don't, because they will never want to play it again.
Yeah, I am convinced. Okay, I know, you know.
All right,
I love Tom Vassal. He has
yes,
a first
I saw
impression.
his review.
He has a first impressions video of Food Chain Magnate. I am convinced it was a horrible teach with some very mean player decisions that happened. And I am just like, I wish I could have been there to play with him. That's all. That's all I'll say on that. And he, you know, but I don't get me wrong. I still love Tom Vassal. Dice Tower stuff is great, but yeah, I wish I could just teach him Food Chain Magnate. Make me happy. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
You're number one. I'm thinking of a direction it's going. So I'm intrigued.
You know my number one is.
I know.
Don't lie for the camera.
It's a
game you never played.
It fits the theme of what we're seeing you like in this game too.
It's over my head right now. My number one is the big behemoth cooperative game that is also the Board Game Geek number one. Sorry for spoilers. It's Gloomhaven.
Yeah.
Okay, let me talk about Gloomhaven. I played Pandemic Legacy, and I was like, oh man, Legacy games are great. I want to play Legacy games. I saw on Kickstarter, hey, look, this is a Dungeon Crawl Legacy game. That's all I saw. Stupid me. Dungeon Crawl Legacy. Backed it. No problem. It came. It turns out to be the greatest game I've ever played. And it's Gloomhaven. And when Gloomhaven came out, I was surprised, as I was not expecting to love Gloomhaven as much as I did. I was not expecting to see how big the box of Gloomhaven was when it came out. And when I got it, I tried out all different characters. Just the first scenario, just tried out all the different characters. And I told you how much I love making decisions on the fly. Gloomhaven is all about writing. You know, you just play your 2 cards, and then all the things happen in order, and you just gotta figure out and wing it. And man, oh man, the constant struggle and decisions, and my plan got ruined, but wait, I could do this thing. And I love that part. I love I could do this thing, because there's a lot of that in Gloomhaven. And sometimes it works perfectly, no problem. And then other times you run into the ooze. So with Gloomhaven, it's a cooperative board game that came out, and it when I got it, I went to a board game convention that same weekend. It was a Granite Game Summit in New Hampshire, and I went with some friends, and we were deciding what games to bring. And I was like, I saw my one friend. I was like, Mike, listen, I'm bringing this game. We're gonna play it. I have a feeling if this is the only game we play that entire convention, it's gonna be the best game convention you've been to. And he's like, yeah, we'll try. We'll go try a bunch of different games. We played 5 different games that entire convention. Gloomhaven was 2 days worth of that convention, though. Sorry, it was all 3 days worth of that convention, with sprinkles of like Scoville and stuff. But Gloomhaven, yeah. No.
Tiny Gloomhaven.
Oh, I like big chunky Gloomhaven. Give me the big chunky Gloomhaven. And I love everything about this game. I love the constant decision making. And it's just like you go in, you play your cards, you do, or you do something else. And
the way the cards happen in this game is super interesting too.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So you do 2 cards. Right. Perfect. You do 2 cards. And when you do 2 cards, both cards have 2 actions on top on them. They're either a top action or a bottom action. And you need to choose the top action of one card and the bottom action of another card. Those are your decisions when you play those 2 cards. And not only that, the cards have in the middle your like determination value, basically your turn order, right? And the lowest number goes first all the way down to the highest. And there's this constant balance in terms of figuring out the cards in your hands, which 2 cards are going to be perfect for right now. And you need to figure out a backup plan too, just in case.
Yeah.
And then when it comes into it, you really need to decide. And there's tons of options, but there is really one option you should go for. It's that Mage Knight thing. It's that Star Trek Frontiers thing. Tons of options, but only one right answer. And you got to figure out, but it's only 2 cards. It's not 5 or 6 or 7 cards. So it's not as daunting as Mage Knight. And there's tons of comparison with this game and Mage Knight in particular. For a solo experience, I would stick with Mage Knight, but 3 players, 4 players, 2 players, even Gloomhaven, all the way for me.
Brian did ask thoughts on Jaws of Lion.
I love Jaws of the Lion. I stopped playing Jaws of the Lion though because I want to play it with more people. So I love that format. So Jaws of the Lion takes a lot of the bookkeeping and the map setup portion of it away, because you literally just open the book and you play in the book, and then you open the book and you play in the book, and I love that. And I think Frosthaven is gonna have that as an add-on as well.
Don't know.
I think they're having that. I could be wrong, but I am looking for the Frosthaven for sure. Jaws of the Lion, I really loved when I played it, but I stopped because I want to experience it with someone. Because like I said, I would prefer playing Gloomhaven multiple people. I know some people do solo Gloomhaven. I'm not about solo Gloomhaven, except there's a fan scenario of Gloomhaven where you get to play as Indiana Jones, and it's called Indiana Jones in the Temple of Gloom, and it's solo only.
That's awesome.
It's so hilarious. So yeah, it's a really well done fan scenario. And the fan community for Gloomhaven is fantastic. There are tons of like assistive apps for minimizing some of the bookkeeping so you can actually jump into the game. And it's just it's incredible that when Gloomhaven came out, people were asking about making fan things for it, and Isaac was the designer and the publisher. He's like, yeah, and here are all the assets for everything Gloomhaven. Here are all the.
That's so cool.
And like, wow, this guy just wants to make sure people play his game, and I'm so happy to have played this game, and I still haven't finished the entire thing, but I've played the game for it says BG stats is 49 times, because that's just BG stats. But I've done like one-offs. I've done and I still have a great time. I don't play it for the story at all. Okay, I don't think the story in Gloomhaven is really compelling. At least to me, it's not compelling at all. Generic fantasy stuff. But
you're not a big fantasy person, are you?
I'm not. I'm really not.
Doesn't seem like it.
Yeah, and I have War of the Rings sitting over there, and I'm just like, I don't know if I want to play this.
I was gonna say that I do think it's interesting with that game. The way he embraced the community, I think, was huge.
Yeah,
and it was unlike something I've seen. I have a copy of Gloomhaven. I've probably played it 3 times. It's really sad, but I don't regret owning it, because literally, if the apocalypse happened, well,
I
got something to do.
Yeah, you got Gloomhaven to play, and you have Caverna for the Tinder. You're good.
And
exactly. That is exactly true.
Back to Jaws of the Lion real quick. I mean, really, it's $30 in comparison to 100. And if you've never played Gloomhaven or any, I'm not going to say any other dungeon crawler, but it introduces a lot of the stuff through the scenarios, right? So you can start off not really knowing much, and you're not going to be overwhelmed. Yeah. So I would say if you're interested in the Gloomhaven world at all, it's not a bad place to start. And if you like it,
it's a great place to start.
Then go shell out the big bucks.
Yeah.
For what is an amazing game.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is an amazing game. Honestly, it deserves all the praise it gets. It really deserves all the praise it gets. It's so well done. It's so well thought out. The price point for the big box is not bad though either. You get a ton of content in that.
But it is a big investment for somebody that might just be curious,
Yeah. But like if you're gonna do a dungeon, and here's the thing, like I've played a bunch of dungeon crawls, and in terms of like, I don't really look at Gloomhaven too much as dungeon crawl. Like I just look at it as like a co-op kind of adventure kind of
Mhm.
thing. I'm not, because like when I think dungeon crawl, I think dice chucking. I think dice chucking. I think like this is like
Zombicide kind of thing.
like a D&D kind of
Yeah.
thing, and and this I love the puzzle aspect of it. I love the decisions with those cards and what enemies will activate and when to play specific things. That's what I love about it. Then the constant thinking. Oh, I didn't even talk about one of the best things in my opinion is there is no dice chucking. It's a deck build for
Mhm.
it's a deck building experience for your attack. So when you do an attack, you flip over this attack modifier card, which will either add or reduce different how your attack did. But then you could, as the game goes on, when you level up, you could add additional cards into it,
That is really
and you could
awesome.
remove some stuff, and you could just cater yourself to this deck, and I love that so much. Like, give me that over dice any day, you know.
I
Right.
like the I will say in this game I like the discovery. I do like the pulling out a new character.
Oh
I do
yeah, it's like
enjoy all
advent
that.
calendar of treasures in there.
I think when I bought the game, I also bought the because I had some grand plans. I bought like the removable stickers.
Oh yeah,
I that was a mistake. But yeah, I am with you. This one, even though it's I could say not going to be in my top 20, it is a game I highly recognize for what it is. And if I had the people to play it, it probably would have been played more, nor did I have the space to play it. So
yeah.
like I had it without the space. I'm much more able to do that now, and now I might have a setup on the table, and I may do that solo bid bit that
You
you're
can also play digitally too.
Yes, and I haven't
That's
done
how
that
I've done
yet.
all my plays.
Yeah,
So
it looks great.
So when I played it, I know they've done an update since then where they've released the official campaign. But I guess if you don't care much about the story, maybe that's not important. But
Yeah.
so they were just like one-off scenarios. But it still felt like a campaign kind of, because it's not like you're starting anything over. But I thought it worked really well, and it was really fun. And it's probably really cool solo, but it was also really fun to play with other people,
Mm-hmm.
because what you're talking about, how using the card abilities, the tops and the bottoms, whatever, planning all of that out, it is just so satisfying when it comes together.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody has just one more movement point where they can get close enough to do their melee attack or whatever and take out the last enemy in the room, and you finally succeed. Because as a lot of the games you seem to like, there is a puzzle to solve.
Yeah.
It's not completely free form. It is and it isn't, right? I mean, there's optimal decisions that are going to get you through that scenario. But yeah,
But
it's
then
a
you have
great
the
time.
battle goals.
Yeah, then there
And
are
it's
goals
like,
too. Yes.
well, if we're not gonna win, I might as well change how I'm
Yeah.
approaching this and just go for treasure.
And then there's the chests in the room that you want to
Yeah.
get to, but do you have enough movement to do that and pick
And
up
it's
that? And you
always the
have to,
scoundrel. It's always the scoundrel,
and you need a
man.
loot card too. You can't just
Yeah, which
yeah.
again, always that scoundrel. That scoundrel.
What I like, I will say, and this is kind of probably my last thought because I think you said everything that I was thinking, but it is the fact that I do like, even if the story is not amazing to one person, it might or I think it's
Yeah.
good. I do like following a story and thinking about side missions and these other things.
Yeah.
Like I like the little things that are happening in between, and I enjoy that part. So it's interesting because I think it hits on a lot of different areas for one person, and it might be just the dungeon crawling for another. And so I think
Yeah.
it wins in so many
That's
areas,
true.
and I think that's the reason
That's a good
why
point.
it hit for so many people and rose to number one.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big piece.
And just the level design is great. Like, yeah, I said I don't care for the story, but I think the scenarios are completely interesting. Like in terms of how they set up the levels,
I could see
and
that.
there's there's tons of options in there, and you don't really know what's gonna happen. And some scenarios play completely different than other based on what characters out. And it's just, yeah.
In the physical version, when you move into like a new area and say there's another room, but you don't know what's in that room until you get into the room. Is that correct?
No. So in the physical version, they show you everything is in a room.
Because you're setting it up. Well,
because you're setting
I
it
guess
up.
you could set
But
it up
there's
that room up until you get there.
There's a helper app that hides that has the maps, and they just hide the rooms. So you could then do it where it's like
if you use the app. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know. Cool.
Yeah. Gloomhaven #1. That's it.
Great list.
Also, if you want a really good dungeon dungeon crawl that is dice based, Hellboy the board game is phenomenal in that regard. That's it.
Is that cool?
Yeah, that's cool. But it's not Gloomhaven.
You just never know, because like those IP based games, sometimes they come out and
this one's great.
You see them for a while and then they kind of fade. But that's good to know. It's good to know.
Well, before I let anybody go really quick, I do want to go ahead and just let everybody know we are going to do one more of these in the next month, which is going to be my top 20. Ryan will be on that one. Lizzie's going to be on this one as well. I think you're still in the chat. I see you still there. Liz is there. So really excited to have her come aboard, come back on the channel and be there to talk about some of my favorite games. I will tell you there will be crossovers.
Yeah.
I will not say how many, but there will be definite crossovers. So
before I cut you off though.
Yes.
Brass Birmingham had trains. Right?
Oh, yes.
Brass Birmingham had trains. Food Chain Magnate, they refer to the separations of the tiles as railroad tracks.
All right, that counts. I'm counting that.
And #1,
I did not know that.
Gloomhaven. So I tie Gloomhaven and Jaws of the Lion in the same spot. I gave them both actually 10s on BGG. And in the first, I think, scenario, isn't there like a train track in Jaws of the Lion on the floor? I don't know. It's a stretch, but
I've not played that one.
I'm pretty sure the first scenario.
We will count it.
Sure.
And give you a 7.
Okay, I'll take it.
It's a 7, everybody. The
7.
Train counter is at 7. There we go. My new favorite thing. The train counter. Choo choo. It was appropriate that you were the first one on here. It's the Tabletop Express. So
I'll take it.
I gotta say, I appreciate everyone popping in. Oh, it's a
minecart track.
Yeah, it's a minecart track. Well,
but what is a minecart if not a train? But
6.5. I'll give it a half a point.
Would you count a model train?
I'm not redoing the scroll, so I don't care. Really thank you everyone for coming in. Ryan, thanks for putting your list together. This was so much fun. And Ryan.
So many Ryans.
You know who you mean.
Yeah. Ryan from BGSmack. I appreciate you jumping on the channel tonight and hanging out with us for 2 hours.
While I have you,
good time.
While I have you, though, I must stress, if you do love talking board games, definitely join the BGSmack Discord group.
Yeah,
I've met a lot of people I consider friends now through that group.
I've only been on it for a week, and I'm having a great time.
And then I met Tona. And then it's like a whole thing.
And he's like, I gotta go. I gotta go. No, Tona's a good guy.
He's a great guy. I'm just messing.
No, appreciate the shout out.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Had a good time. It was really interesting to learn more about like what you liked, and I think everybody can probably see like the trend going through, what kind of games you gravitate towards and everything. Yeah. So it's
trains.
And I will just say that I do enjoy, and we'll do this for the rest of them. And this will be what we do from this point forward on this channel. But I do like the individualization of it and not trying to jump around between people, because I think we really do get to know what people's tastes are. So, with that said, Ryan, some great choices. We will see where there's crossover with our next set of people, but it'll be fun to see that one. Everyone come on out, of course, for that one. And be on the lookout, because Danielle and Brian are going to do theirs too. And I can tell you that, there will be crossover. We all have some very different tastes, so I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Definitely. We're going to talk about a lot of different games throughout all these videos. So, and Crocodile, by the way, Creators Corner is coming up
next week.
Yeah,
that's awesome. That sounds really cool.
So Jeremy's a cool guy.
Yeah, we got a lot of great people coming up. I will say, just so people are aware, really quick, just a quick rundown. If you're watching this live or you're watching this within the week of February 3rd, coming up, Fleet the Dice game is this game for you on February 7th. Jeremy Tracy on February 9th and February 10th. Peter Hayward, who designed That Time You Killed Me, which is in my high list for 2022, for 2021, I should say. He'll be on. So some good stuff coming up next week.
Peter C. Hayward.
Peter C. Hayward. Yes, yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Make sure I correct that. There is a C
in
there. But with that, I just want to say thank you for coming aboard the Tabletop Express. We appreciate you coming here, and have a wonderful night, everyone.